Lovelies, my name is Jessica and welcome to Makeup.misfit, and today is day 3 of my makeup collection and inventory series. We're chatting about eyeshadow singles today. So there have been a few changes from last year, so when we get to those we will chat about them. So we're just gonna dive right in, but first we are gonna start off with single compact eyeshadows. I have a couple here. The first one we're going to chat about is this little one from Natasha Denona. This is from the Retro palette, and this is in the shade Helio. So this shadow, I have the Retro palette, so I don't know if I'm going to keep this or not. I may just pass it along. The little usage that looks like it's in here, I think it's just been like a piece has fallen out, of course. So I may hold on to this. I may just get rid of it. I'm not 100% sure what I want to do with this one yet, but this is one that I still have in the compact. I have a few more, and another one of those is this one by NYX. This is such an old school packaging. I remember when we first got NYX, I was probably 15 or 16, and I absolutely loved these. So I have this one. This is in the shade Hot Pink. It's got a little bit of shimmer. I don't know if oh, there you go. You can kind of see it there. I know I've mentioned this before, talking about maybe using it as a blush. I haven't tried it yet. I haven't dipped into this yet, but I would like to at some point, because it just brings back that nostalgia. Here is another NYX shadow as well. This one is not as old as the previous one, but this one is in the shade Tin. It's a lovely silver, if I can open it. So this is what that one looks like. I would like to try and use this one. When I had refound this one, because I think this was in my products I forgot about video from back in December, I was actually really excited about it because I completely forgot I had it. And then I have one from Urban Decay. This is a split pan. So the lighter shade is called Half Baked and the darker shade is called Twice Baked. This one, again, I haven't really had any usage on it, but I would like to eventually get around to that. So those are the 4 that are still in compacts. I have a couple of Urban Decay ones that you will see later. They were in the same compact as that previous one, but I took it out and I'm using it as a magnetic single. So that's what we're going to start chatting about right now. Just no particular order. These are my magnetic singles. I took them out of my Gimme Glow extra large magnetic palette and put them back into smaller condensed palettes. Now these are either by color story, by brand, or just absolutely random. There's no rhyme or reason as to why some of these are in the same palette, but we're just gonna chat. So first, we're gonna talk about this little one here. Now this is a quad. It came as this bundle, and this is from Lethal Cosmetics. Now this shade right here that's a little bit cracked, I'm pretty sure is the only one that really has some sort of usage on it, and Lethal Cosmetics is just a brand that I tend to forget about. I know a lot of people really like them. Their shimmers seem fine, their mattes seem fine, but for some reason it's not a brand that I gravitate towards. Don't get me wrong, I have a couple palettes which you will see tomorrow, but I just don't get a lot of use on them, if any at all. And I've gone to their website, I've created my own palette. I haven't actually bit the bullet and purchased one because I feel like if I'm gonna spend the amount of money on a palette that those ones can cost up to, I'd much rather put it towards a brand that I'm really excited about, that I really enjoy, that I want to reach for all the time, and Lethal just doesn't seem to be that brand for me. So I'm gonna hold on to these. I'm not decluttering anything in here at all today, but I want to try and maybe get some use on it throughout this year, see how I feel about it, and then possibly at the end of this year, next year, maybe make a decision on what I want to do. We are going to just get this one out of the way. This is all of my Luxie shades. You would have seen this palette before if you watch my channel. Now there's 2 missing. I will chat about those a little bit later, but this is the rest of what I have. We're not going to chat too much because if you watch my channel, you already know. So those are my Luxie shades. The other 2 that were out of that palette are in here. The 3 shades that are in this palette are all in my Birthstone Beauty project. So these are the 2 by Luxie, and then this one is from Shine by SD. Very beautiful shades. I absolutely love these ones. And then this little quad palette is by NYX as well. Now these ones I purchased as singles. They are only the 3 shades. I don't know if I'm going to keep these because when I originally bought them, my intention was to pass them along, and that just never ended up happening. Oh look, my nail polish matches. Oh, that's so cool. So I don't know if I want to keep these or not. A part of me has also thought about taking out the silver, putting it in here to create just like a little bit more of a rounded color story. Again, I don't know if I want to do that or keep that in the compact. But all of these shades only have like one swatch on them. I haven't actually used them. I've never dipped into them. So I really don't know what I want to do with this. But again, I'm going to take the year, maybe try and figure it out and then make a decision at some point. Let's chat about this palette here, because this palette has a little bit of a mix, but it is all my neutral, well, not all of my neutral shades, but most of my neutral shades. So this palette has some Urban Decay, it has some ABH, and it has some Sydney Grace. So the Urban Decay shades that are in here are these top 4, and they came in this original compact. So I took them out, made them, and I'm using them as like my magnetic singles. I have these 3 are Sydney Grace, and then I believe these 3 are ABH. So this is just kind of what this palette's looking like right now. These 2 are in another palette, which I'll chat about in just a little bit. But I kind of wanted to keep all of my neutrals, or most of my neutrals, at least in the same size pans all together, and then I can just kind of pull for them. I don't think I'd ever use this as an actual palette though. As much as I do enjoy neutrals, I need a little something, and I don't think that like all of these together give me what I'm looking for. I'm gonna chat this one right here. So this is just a couple of random shades. These 2 at the very top are from Stila, and this is actually from an older eyeshadow and face palette. The blushes that were in that palette you guys would have seen a couple of days ago if you watched the first video in this series. These are the 2 eyeshadows that I decided to take out of that palette as well. So it was 5 eyeshadows and the 2 blushes. The other 3 eyeshadows I got rid of. It is a much older palette, so I just want to show a little bit more love on these 2 shades and then just get rid of them. I don't know if you're really going to be able to tell, but there is some pretty good dips going on these 2. I had them in a project, shown them a lot of love, but I feel like because I've had that palette that I now have gotten rid of, I have had it for so long. I want to say it was one of my first like higher end eyeshadow palettes, that I feel like I just need to hit pan on these 2 shades to feel like I am okay with getting rid of the whole thing, or whatever I've already gotten rid of. So once I hit pan on these 2, then these 2 will be gone. I have no intention of completely finishing them off. And then down here I have 2 Give Me Glow shadows. So this one down here is called Princess Pink, which is like my absolute favorite shade of pink ever. The top layer actually has cracked on me a couple times and crumbled, so I took all of the loose powder and put it into an empty Mini Becca highlighter compact. I tried repressing it, it did not work, so if I still have that, I think I'm actually going to toss it and just try and work on this shade a little bit, hoping that it doesn't crumble on me like it was before. But it's a stunning shade. It's my favorite tone of pink. I absolutely love it, so I'm really hoping that I can make it work for me. And then this one here is called Mystery Topper, which I think is just a duochrome, but it's stunning. I've worn this just all over the lid. I've topped it on top of just like a beige. I've probably topped it on top of a few other shadows as well, but I haven't reached for it in quite a while, so I want to play with this one again, but I did really enjoy it every time that I've reused it. One of my favorite palettes, color story wise, is this one right here, which has a mixture of brands as well. Now, we're going to chat about this little empty space first because I am so sad. I went to go film this earlier, and as I was showing this palette and showing the amazing dip that was in that shadow, which by the way was Sunbeam from Clionadh, so I will post a photo if I remember of what it actually looks like. Not mine, but what the original one looks like. It just like crumbled and fell out of the pan. I was able to salvage some of it, but not all of it. It ended up going all over my floor. So I have like maybe a quarter of the shadow left. I do have to repress it, so that's why I'm not showing you my version of it. But when I was on the Clionadh website last, I want to say I saw that Sunbeam was reformulated. So maybe this means that I can just go buy the new Clionadh shadow, or I should probably stay away from single shadows because I tend to not have very good luck with them for some reason. I'm hoping that can change one day, but at this rate, who knows? But what is left in this palette, these 2 shades here are from Touch of Glam, which you can see this great, amazing dip going on in this shadow. This one doesn't have as much usage, but I have really liked it as well, so I want to get some more use on that. I want to say these 3 are from Glaminatrix, and then these 2 are from Shine by SD. I think that's how it goes. I know those are the brands that are in here, but it could be Shine by SD and Glaminatrix. Not 100% at the moment, but I'm pretty sure it's 3 and then the 2. But regardless, I love this palette. Color story wise, those are some of my favorite shadows in my collection. I do have another brand that I want to show you that I absolutely love and adore their shadows, and this is by Terra Moon. Now this little compact is by ABH, and this is what I use to put my eyeshadow singles in when I'm using them, when I have them in projects, just to kind of keep them separated from everything else. Now, like I said, all of these are from Terra Moon. This one is Solar Flare, which I have hit pan on. I hit pan on this after I had rolled it out of Panel's eyeshadows, and I had rolled in Utopia here. This one is Celestial Pink, and I'm blanking on the name of this one. It might be Lunar Spectrum, possibly. I don't want to take it out at the moment, but I really like the Terra Moon shadows. I love their formula. I just love their iridescence. I think that they're super pretty. I enjoy them every time I use them, even ones that I'm not quite sure if I'm going to enjoy the shift. When I top it on something else, it just pulls the look together, and I adore it a whole lot. And then this is the rest of my Terra Moon shadows. So again, I don't have a whole lot, but there's a bunch of different formulas and finishes and whatnot in here, and just shifts and everything like that. So of course my iridescent ones at the top, some of my absolute favorites in my collection as well. And then last but not least, I think this is it. This is the last palette that I have with a bunch of other mixed brands. Now I have to be careful because not all of these shadows are in here are magnetics, but the color story is one of my absolute favorites. I think this is so bright, so fun, so colorful, so summer. I'm really hoping that I can pull this out and try to get some use on it this summer, this springtime, play around, expand that comfort zone that I have. I again match this eyeshadow, which I think is so fun. So these 4 at the top are from Give Me Glow. Now 2 of these shades are exactly the same, but these shades come from the Summer Vibes palette, which you will see tomorrow. But what I did was I actually took some of my Give Me Glow singles and I put them into that palette. So you will see those singles in there, so that palette's going to look different tomorrow. But I have decided that I'm going to use these as singles instead, because I pretty much am not going to use them in that palette. Maybe not even at all or very much. So I don't want to pull out a whole palette just for 1 or 2 shades that I might only reach for the 1 or 2 times. Now, these 6 plus this one comes from Juvia's Place. I have some from the Zulu palette, and a couple of them are from the Tribe palette. This one is actually a blush, so I don't know why that is in here, but it is. So I'm actually going to, this is from MAC, this is called Stylish Me. I'm actually going to add this to my blush collection. So instead of the 21 blushes that I have, I now have 22. These 2 up here are from ColourPop. You will see that palette tomorrow and some changes in there. This one is by MAC. This is Sydney Grace. And then these 2 down here are from the Marc Jacobs Stiletto palette. And the last palette is this Terra Moon Magnetic palette, and we have a few changes in here. So speaking of the Marc Jacobs Stiletto palette, I have a couple of those shades in here, and they are mixed together with the ColourPop Going Coconuts palette. Now they are the same pan size, so I wanted to kind of combine the 2, but I had to get rid of the packaging from the ColourPop Going Coconuts palette because the plastic, the clasp, something must have broke. It just wasn't closing tightly anymore, or closing at all for that matter. So I depotted those, and I took some of the Marc Jacobs shades, and I just created this little color story. Now this one right here, it has just a small amount of product in it because it's from this shade here. When I was trying to depot it out of the Marc Jacobs palette, it was like cracking on me. So I took the little bits, I repressed them into this little pan here. So I want to use this up before I actually start to reach for this shade. The 2 on this side are from Natasha Denona. So one is from the Bronze palette and the other one is from the Glam. They're just little samples that came with a Sephora online order. So I do want to completely finish these ones off and then get those out of my collection. And then these 2 down here, this one is ABH, this one is Tarte. It's in Poker Face. This is actually the very first single eyeshadow that I've ever hit pan on. And these 2 were from that other shadow palette that I showed you. that had the 2 missing neutral shades. So I just threw them into here because they had pan on them, I guess. And that is it. So those are all of my single shadows. So I'm going to add everything up. I will have a number for you guys on the screen as to how many single eyeshadows are in my collection. And I'm excited to see how many of these I use up and get through this year, because as much as I love the idea of single shadows, I just don't think they're for me. You will see a palette tomorrow that is technically singles, but I purchased it as a palette. That is how I'm going to use it. So if it's in that sort of sense, I may purchase singles as long as it's like in palette form, or I'm using it that way. So I do have a couple things in mind. I don't know if I'm going to follow through with them or not, but as of right now, these are the singles that are in my collection, and I'm curious to see how this is going to change next year. So that is it for this video. So I thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you guys later. Tomorrow is my eyeshadow palettes, of course, the most fun and exciting video. So I will see you guys all tomorrow. Bye.